The socialist wing of the Democratic Party is preparing to push its most sweeping agenda yet, including a plan to scrap the U.S. Senate and replace the presidency and the Supreme Court with congressionally selected bodies. Let's bring in Jonathan Turley, constitutional law professor and a Fox News contributor. I just want to put this up on the screen because this has been told to us by sources of what the DSA wants to pursue in a new platform. Eliminating the U.S. Senate, as we said a moment ago, replacing the president and the Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen by and subordinate to Congress, so much for the separation of powers, amnesty for all immigrants, and defunding the Department of War. A lot of people might think that the DSA is trying to redefine the loony left.
Well, what's fascinating, John, is that they are trying to reintroduce the very things that the framers rejected. Specifically, what is called a unicameral system. I just wrote a book called Rage in the Republic, comparing these new socialists to the Jacobins that tore apart France. We had two revolutions occurring. Ours became the most stable, successful democracy in history, and the French Revolution became the terror. Many of the things that they're suggesting, the type of direct democracy, unicameralism, all of that was tried. All of that was rejected by the framers, who said that's not going to be a democracy. They said that will be a mobocracy, and we don't want it. But these are very young people who did not live through the collapse of socialist systems in the last century, in the 70s and 80s. This was tried in France. It was tried in England. Many of the things that they're proposing were the things that destroyed their economies, like a wealth tax. But this is all new to them. And so they hear things like Mondami saying the warmth of collectivism, and they think, gee, everything's going to be free and this could really work. It won't work. And it hasn't worked in the past. It's never worked.
Because somebody's got to pay for it. And when nobody's paying for it, then you can't afford all that free stuff. Just for people at home, in terms of the Senate, the presidency, and the judiciary, here is what the Constitution says. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Article 2, Section 1. The executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. Article 3, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court. What is the likelihood of the DSA being able to abolish the first paragraph of all three articles of the Constitution?
Well, it's not likely, John, but I think that we have to take this seriously. It's a dangerous conceit to believe that because we've made it to 250 years, we'll have 250 more. And these are people who represent not a constitutional crisis, but a crisis of faith. They have forgotten who we are and why we're here. These are the very things we rejected. The very reason why we've made it this far is because we have a system designed by geniuses, including James Madison, that can take the pressures of democratic choice so that a democracy doesn't devour itself. That's why we have to take this so seriously.
I also want to ask you about something you wrote about, and that was James Tallarico using the Second Amendment itself to promote gun control. Listen to what he said.
A lot of politicians like to talk about the Second Amendment. Very few have actually read the Second Amendment, because if they did, they would know that the words well-regulated are right there in the text of the amendment itself.
It's always good to have like a mine was always business. In the
actually read the Second Amendment, which actually says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. He's not talking about weapons being well-regulated. The Second Amendment talks about a militia being well-regulated.
That's right. And first of all, he makes it sound like the Second Amendment is war and peace. It's one line. And most people have indeed read it. And when they read it, they usually include militia after well-regulated.
Yeah.
He's wrong. Well-regulated is not a reference to what we consider regulation. Well-regulated meant organized. Militias were critical to our national defense. Many people didn't want a standing army. So when they said we want a well-regulated militia, it meant we wanted to have a militia that was combat ready. It's not that they were saying you can regulate it. And more importantly, it was being referenced as the benefits of this individual right, not the sole purpose. So it's an absolutely baffling effort to reinterpret the Second Amendment. But it is worrisome the degree to which he would go on this flight of fancy and suggest that the Second Amendment actually calls for regulations.
Yeah, well, he said a number of baffling things, so we can just add that one to the list. Professor Turley, good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Sandra?
All right, John.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.